Okay, let's see now how we get on with this one now. So this is the title of this story today is If the Lamp Goes Out, You'll Have to Pee in It. And this is take 3. We're trying to get some volume out of this microphone. I know we've done about 200 videos using it, but I'm still not happy that it's giving the best it could. Right, so for this story we need to go back to the 1970s and Ivy House, New Bolingbroke once more. You might have read the story recently about how we bought the house in 1970, and in fact the first couple of years we were finding our feet there. It was a beautiful, living in the country and a different kind of life, and it was a lovely house. But of course a big house like that, the bills are big as well, and of course as the years go by the bills escalated. Now it had a huge building at the back, and we were keen to try and get the building to help us with our financial whatever. So we did some storage in there, and one of the people we did storage for was Cyril Keatley from Boston. I mentioned Cyril previously. He was the gentleman that ran the Keatley's department stores in Boston. And when I was working at the Lincolnshire Standard in the early 1960s, I used to see Cyril every week because he was one of my clients, and he advertised regularly in the newspaper with having several different stores, and I did the adverts. So I knew Cyril quite well. Now he had another little business called Continental Camping Tours, which not many people knew about. And this involved some small buses, coaches actually, which tootled around Europe, and people camped with them. They had big, they were 15, 20 seaters, proper coaches. They had big roof racks on them, ladders you could climb up and throw all your camping gear and rucksacks on the top. And anyway, later on in the 1970s we came across one of these coaches quite by accident in the Dordogne Valley. We'd been touring France for, this was about the 4th year we'd toured with Charles and Lucy Butler. They were friends from the Witham Sailing Club. And on one occasion we told Charles and Lucy that we were going to France again, and we asked them if they wanted to go with us. Next time we saw them, they got the passports. And I think this was the 4th trip to the Dordogne Valley. In the Dordogne Valley there's all these very old caves with even older paintings, prehistoric. And we went to have a look at some of these. Now, it so happened we were visiting one particular cave. I'll put the name up here in a minute and show you a picture of the entrance of it. I can't remember the name offhand, but it was one of these caves where it hadn't got turnstiles and ice cream parlours and things like that. It was just a cave. And if I remember rightly, this particular cave, if you were very big, you really didn't want to think about going inside, because it's rocks and they're not very movable. You can't sort of push it to one side if you're a bit large and you can't get through the gap. You have to breathe in a bit. And if you're of a nervous disposition or claustrophobic, I wouldn't entertain this particular cave network anyway. Right, we'd have arrived at these caves, which is not far from Les Aisies, which is the town, the centre of the actual cave networks. And they'd been closed for lunch, and we arrived 2 o'clock-ish, and there was 3 or 4 cars there, and we were walking, gently up to the entrance. When all of a sudden this bus arrived. It was a Continental Camping Tours. I said, "Hey, look, Ruth, it's one of Cyril Keatley's buses." All this way and right down, past the centre of France, and there it was. And we'd had these buses and this particular one in store for at least a couple of winters in the maltings at Ivy House. A woman leapt out of this bus. Oh my golly, was she officious. I mean, she didn't look very nice. She had tight pulled back hair in a bun, and she was very in charge. And she dashed up to the lady who was about to talk to us, and take our money and tell us a bit about what was going on, and said, oh, we need to get in first because we've been booked in, and my people need to get in first because we've got lots of other places to go. And oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And of course it was all in English, and she was virtually shouting at this lady. Well, there's one thing you need to know about visiting France, and that is, don't shout at the French in English, because they don't like it. I don't know why English people think that if they shout at the French in English, then it'll help them to understand better. It doesn't. It really annoys them. It really annoys them very much indeed. So anyway, this lady at the entrance, obviously it wasn't the first time she'd had to deal with somebody like this, and she just, waved to us a little bit, stay calm, I'll sort this out. So this very important lady duly dragged all her 15 or so people out of the coach and up to the entrance, and they paid the money, and this lady in charge gave them some candles and set them off down the cave entrance and said, follow the arrows or something like that. She didn't give them a lot of time, took the money, a few candles, and off they went. We never saw them again, actually. I don't suppose they're still in there, but anyway, that's by the by. Then it was our turn, and she said, oh, we'll sort you out. And we had some carbide lamps, and this is why you must pee in the lamp if it goes out, because it's obviously run out of water and it needs some more liquid to produce the gas. And there's a little reflector on the front, and out of the centre of the reflector the gas comes out under pressure, a little bit of pressure, and you light that, and there's a little flame on the front of this reflector, and it gives you a bit of light. Not a lot, but it's enough. You don't need a lot of light where you're going. I mean, how on earth these folks that painted these paintings all these umpteen years ago managed to do it in the dark, I don't know. They must have set fire to somebody's tail or something to give them some light. Anyway, I mean, the cave paintings are quite amazing. Really, they're really worth seeing. So anyway, this lady organised us, and we went off in 2s and 3s, and there was 4 of us actually. Oh, 5, because Dingo was with us as well. So and we squeezed into these caves and had a look round, and we did hear a bit of noise, as we were going round. It sounded very much like this woman in charge. Whether her candles had gone out or what, I don't know, but we went round the circuit and came out and gave the lamps back, and everything worked very well. It was very interesting, and the cave paintings are quite gobsmacking, really. And the bus was still there, so they hadn't achieved a lot by dashing in first and wanting to get round quick because they've got lots of places to go. They must have got lost somewhere. So that was an interesting episode. Charles and Lucy enjoyed it. We visited several caves on that particular holiday. Another one I should tell you about is a grotto, a huge grotto, an enormous cave, where we were waiting to go on a boat ride, hundreds and hundreds of feet underground, on an underground river, when some very unpleasant youths arrived and tried and force their way to the front of the queue. Anyway, a German chap took charge and picked one kid up and battered his head against the metal grill and sorted him out. That's another story. I'll tell you about that another time. Fascinating story. So there we are. If the lamp goes out, you'll have to pee in it. These carbide lamps, they were what you used on your bike, a few years ago, if you're a bit older than me. And before I had battery lamps, and this carbide stuff, we put it in and added water to it, and I believe they were quite efficient. They didn't give a very strong light. It's nothing like these modern headlamps that blind you as you're coming towards the cars and things. And they used them in mines, for many years. And if you look at Wikipedia, it'll tell you all about carbide lamps. I think they were using them in America until some mine blew up with them, and they stopped using them then. But it does say that even today, in some mines in Russia, they still use carbide lamps. So I don't suppose they're too interested in mine safety in Russia. But there we are. So that's an interesting story. I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget, crackerbooks.fr. Have a look at the website. There's oodles of things there for you to entertain you. There's the podcasts on Buzzsprout. There's the Interim Life books. There's picture story books. There's books for children, all free to download. And then there's all these videos on YouTube. So do hope that you've been entertained for a short while. And until the next time, cheerio.